Hey y'all, Jen here. Let me get the screen set up for you. There we go. This is kind of spur of the moment, partly spur of the moment, partly not. If you're new here, welcome. I'm going to kind of jump into things a little bit. I have one of my dogs is going to pass away soon, and we lost one in October. And it's just, if you've been with me for any amount of time, we're all going through our own tribulation at this point, whether it is the tribulation or just in our own lives. So, like everybody else, I could use some prayer if you're into that, or good thoughts, whatever is your thing. Now, I did a live yesterday or the day before, and it was kind of thrown together because of my dog and everything that's going on in the world. And so I just wanted to make a few of the points from that live a little more cohesive and kind of user friendly. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that are basic. First, regarding the fires, of course, my prayers go out to those people. And unfortunately, I do feel like they are collateral damage, and that a lot of this, of course, is pre-planned. But I do believe that God allows things to happen. It is so wild, again, seeing the butterfly effect and seeing people all over finally talking about the things that we were talking about 5 years ago on the main channel, Buri and Jen. So if you were here for that as well, welcome, because it's been quite the ride. But I do these research with me's live, and as usual, people are copying that formula on their celebrity YouTube channels and monetizing it, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. We know they're not very creative on their own. They have to copy everything that we do, sometimes even our personalities. I actually have a really funny story about that. I'm going to go ahead and plug my laptop in real quick. Don't mind me. Now, I'm still having some health issues, and I am working less now because I cannot be walking to work when it's snowing ice. It's been very hard on me. Again, I'm not whining. I know everybody has their trials right now. But again, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the media. Now, it's my position, and I've held this for a long time. Let me scoot over here so I could see if anyone does show up to talk or anything, if that would possibly happen. It's been my position for a long time at this point that since about 2019, I think we've been watching a lot of AI and a lot of deep fakes. I think a lot of people don't do vlog style videos anymore. All of these are for the same reason. I think that a lot of people are in their shelters or underground or in their bunkers or have left the country. Now, when they first started with the CB and the lockdowns and all that type of stuff, and again, all my disclaimers will be in the description box. But again, this has been my long standing opinion, and I just want to lay this out for you before we dig into these headlines a little bit, so you have an idea of where I'm coming from with this. So it's been my position since 2019 that we've been watching deepfakes and AI run things for a long time. That's why some of the news stories don't make sense. Another reason some of the news stories don't make sense is because, again, this is how the elites are communicating back and forth as to not raise a panic in the regular public, people like you and me. What do I mean by that? I mean, again, I think they have not been out. I think they look different for a reason. And I think there are multiple things happening right now. But one of the things that is pushing the creatures that lived in the national parks to the surface a little more and bringing that to the surface is things going on with the earth. And now, again, I'm not here to worship the earth or tell you to worship the earth, but it is our home for now, so we should be taking care of it. I think they've been giving us clues all along. So for example, back when Trump was in office the first time, he made a speech and he said how they were talking about if they had enough ventilators, right? And how many did they have? I think they are getting prepared and passing information back and forth because we have an event that is going to kick off a cascade of events. and it's already happening in LA. Now, a lot of people did not put this together, but let me go real quick and see if I can actually find this. I hope I can open one more before we dig into this. Let me just see if I can find something in the news real quick. Now, I am trying to find out where, I believe there was a neighborhood that was cordoned off before all this began with the fires, probably a couple months ago, back in 2024. So that's what I'm looking for right now. But I might need somebody else who remembers that happening to LA block. What are those called? Sinkhole? Let's see. All right, so there are sinkholes. 24 days. Sinkhole road closure. Where is this? So this is parts of St. Helier Ring Road, Clarendon Road, and LA Parkway will remain closed. So that's 24 days old. Let me show you what I'm looking at real quick. And this is where I'm coming from. There's stuff happening underground, right? We've got stuff happening. There are sinkholes opening up everywhere because we build cities on top of cities on top of cities. I think the problem now is it's not global warming per se, but I think it's very possible that our caldera is heating up and getting ready to blow. They talked about this back in 2016 about possibly NASA did about possibly putting a hose down in there and putting a bunch of water down there or blowing it up a geyser or creating another geyser to kind of let out steam. Obviously, they never did that. They talked about blowing up parts of the moon too, which I hope they didn't do, but who knows. So we have to put all these things together and we have to be critically thinking when we see these headlines. And again, I'm not here to cause a panic or put fear in your heart. It's all about preparation. And I was a nurse aide and I've worked in banking and I worked in restaurants. So for everything that's going on right now, I see what's happening. It looks like there's a shortage of food. Food that is coming out appears as if it's been frozen and kind of kept aside. And when you get it to your house, it's going bad quickly. I know that's happening because I eat a lot of vegetables now and fruit, and it's real. And when you taste something that's been frozen, and you're not expecting that it's been frozen before, like a frozen dinner or whatever, you can tell, you can taste the difference. It's my opinion that we have some type of seismic event taking place with our caldera in Yellowstone. I don't think any military right now at this point in time is going to waste time with like the little drones I think they're only doing that unless if they have to, right? And they're not telling us what it is or what it's about. They probably are checking for radiation just in the air. Now, people are saying they're seeing things that they don't think it's not snow. Now, if they're not lying and they're being honest about it and they're not just there to go viral, it's very possible that it's not snow, but ash, that we are starting to get some ash in different parts of the United States because it's not just here things are happening, but they are, and again, we have to take it with a grain of salt. We know we can't trust the media. I'm not going to be one of those channels that double mind you to pieces. We can't trust the media, but not everybody is a deceiver, and some of them are out there to help us. And I think they've been passing along information all along. What's funny and ironic, and again, I speak on my personal testimony because that's how we defeat the enemy is through the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. And so I speak that, I speak truth to power that way. I hope, I try to. That is the intention, right? So, this is my opinion that this is all coalescing, and it's very odd. Again, I have this coincidence. I had ordered a few masks, and I'm very anti-mask. I don't really do those unless they're necessary. I was in healthcare. I know when you should and should not do that. And so I bought a few, and trust me, I didn't wear them the first time around. But I bought them when I saw those videos, and I said, that's not snow. If they're saying it smells like sulfur, it's very possible that it's the caldera. Okay, because if you put all these things together, I'm going to show you something else. I'll stay right on this page just to show you what I'm going to search for real quick. And if you like the way I go about things here and it doesn't bother you, the thumbs up are appreciated. The channel probably won't get pushed in the algorithm because I'm not on a steady topic, but it lets me know if you're understanding these connections that I'm trying to make and open you up to. So, precursors to earthquakes, a lot of times you will see a methane rainbow. Don't believe me. Let's go look. Let's not rely on my memory. Precursor to earthquake. There used to be people talking about all this stuff and vlogging all this information. But anyone who is into holistics or anyone that isn't going with their agenda that they can't buy, they erase your online presence if nothing else. Okay, so the study delves into the relationship between ionospheric total electron content anomalies and seismic activity with a focus on Morocco's 6.8 earthquake. So they did a study on this already, right? Here we have an MDPI, which is a paper, right? It's a journal from Geosciences, special issues. Oh, it's recent. The study delves into the relationship between ionospheric total electron content anomalies and seismic activity. Okay, so let's scroll a little. Time variations of methane at day and night. Now, again, if you see like a rainbow in the sky, but it looks like oil almost, like it's not a full rainbow, like it's just a smudge in the sky, you might want to be on your guard because this is studied and it is science. Now, I don't want to dwell too long on any one thing. I'm not going to do all your homework for you, right? That's just not what I do. That. Oh, here's the tab. This is what I was reading from. I actually really like Bing. We're experimenting with that. Usually I use Google, but we're seeing how this goes. And if we get any different information, hold please while I get a drink of water. Oh, my filter must need changed. Okay. So putting all these things together, again, if we can rely on witness statements that there is gas, we're seeing sinkholes open up all over the place. There are like reports of things in the sky like plasma, right? Now, if the event or events are big enough, I'd imagine that would occur. And then there's talk of the angels and angles, which obviously I believe in those as well. So again, I think we have the perfect storm here. So this has been going on for a while in LA, like I said. They have been closing roads due to sinkholes for a while. So we are going to now, I would like to show you Uriel. Since we are talking about the fire element here, we're going to talk about Uriel. Why are we going to do this? Well, because every other channel out there is giving you the same videos over and over again and trying to re-indoctrinate you with some type of information, reprogram you. I like to delve into the spiritual and kind of hack the headlines, so to speak, or defragment the headlines and make them make sense, hopefully. This is Uriel. The Catholic and Orthodox Church calls him Saint Uriel, which I think is funny that we like saint that we give angels sainthood, right? But they're angels, right? So they probably, I wonder if they're flattered by that or like how they feel about that, like celebrity stat. Are they celebrity angels? Like, I don't know. So here he is. Now, again, I believe that there's a lot happening right now. Now everybody's giving credit to this Allie Carter. Is that her name? Not Carter. I forget her name. The young lady talking about the fires in P. Diddy and things that they allegedly did to her when she was younger in these tunnels. Again, if the earth is heating up, if this caldera is heating up, if there are other beings that make that their home, then I imagine that they're going to get driven out of those places, much like the homeless population probably will as well. Everybody's concerned with these 15-minute smart cities, and I'm not saying that's not a concern. Obviously, it is, because it's happened in those places both times. However, do we think their plan is going to come to fruition? Not exactly. And again, I believe this is why you're seeing a little bit of disorganization as far as politics goes. Like, why do you think they brought up all these old stars from the 80s and 90s? Because all of the big ones have already kind of, they're performing from places that they know are safe, or possibly in front of green screens, making it look like they're performing. So again, there's a lot of deception happening on the screen. Just because somebody has a picture or video of it doesn't make it real, okay? So what's special about Uriel? I want you to take a look at him with me for a second, and we'll talk about him. So let's go here to Wikipedia. Okay, so Uriel, and you see all the different names depending on which language you're looking at, but Uriel, and in Hebrew, his name means God is my flame. Now you'll see most like these high-ranking angels, they end in the El, right? Elohim. So God is my flame. El, this is why you see that as like it's a prefix, it's a suffix, it's a male, it's a female. They use it to name the angels. God is my flame, of God, with God. God is with us. Emmanuel. Emmanuel. You see what I mean? In the Coptic, it's Uriel. He is one of the archangels who's mentioned in the rabbinic tradition and in certain Christian traditions. He's well known to the Russian Orthodox tradition and in folk Catholicism. Why am I mentioning him now? Well, I want you to see. We're going to bring down, it's like a baseball card here for Saint Uriel. Look on the right-hand side here where their mouse is. There's this little card, and that's a mosaic by, and it tells you who it's by. Now check this out. His attributes. What are his attributes? His attributes are fire in the palm, a book, a scroll, a flaming sword, a disk of the sun, celestial orb or disk of stars and constellations, chalice. Now, what are we told is going to happen in the end days or in the end of time? Time will be no more, and that's awesome because that means no more entropy. No more entropy means no more death. Death, Satan itself, death, the death bringer, will be thrown into the lake of fire. But before that, God does not use water this time to cleanse the earth, but instead he uses fire. Now, most of us who know that we're already inside of a firmament, we do know that the sky will be rolled back and that the very sky will appear to catch on fire as well. But before that happens, all these rays that people are saying and their attribute that they're giving it the attributes to man, and they're saying, well, there's all these patents and these man-made patents out there, and you can find them right online. Well, again, they have a form of godliness, but deny the power thereof. If we are in a firmament, chances are the fire is going to come from within that firmament. At least some of it, because you're going to have wormwood is going to be an issue too. But if what is happening is what I think is happening, imagine okay, so we saw that his attribute is fire, right? In the end times, his attributes, he has discs of fire. God is my flame. And his job in the end times is to bring fire to the earth. That's his job, to cleanse the earth. Again, I'm not going to do all your homework for you because I want these videos to be a little more user-friendly and not super long. You can pause it wherever you like. The artwork is beautiful. We don't worship artwork, right? The art tells a story. It's symbolic. It gets you in the right headspace to be reverent, to be respectful, okay? Let's see. Whoa. Carrying the cup, he and the archangel Michael rushed into the world and sprinkled it all over Ethiopia and every place where a drop of blood fell. A church was built. Thus, Uriel is often depicted carrying a chalice filled with the blood of Christ. In Ethiopian Orthodox Iconography, Uriel is honored in the Lutheran churches as well, with churches including statuary of the archangels Gabriel, Uriel, Michael, and Raphael. Uriel is described as an angel of the earth in the hierarchy of blessed angels of 1635. He was listed as actually of the angels of the four winds. Uriel south, Michael east, Raphael west, serving also a governor of the south with Uriel, and Gabriel north. He is also listed as an angel of the four winds in the medieval Jewish book of the angel Raziel, which lists him as Uziel. According to it, the book was inscribed on a sapphire stone and handed down from Seraph to Metatron and then to Adam. Sapphire, Aaron's vest. Anyone that tells you it's witchcraft to understand the elements is just, they want you ignorant. They want you to think everything is witchcraft because they know you actually want to be good. So they're going to tell you that they're trying to take away your power or take away. And God can protect anybody, right? But there are certain things and certain ways in which, he will tell you to prepare yourself for certain relics or certain events, right? Or how to build a certain thing or set up a tent or a temple. God has done this again and again and again and again. And with Aaron's vest, he told him that he needed one of 12, I believe. So 4 rows of 3. And basically it was to protect him from radiation. It would reflect and or absorb radiation so that he would not get harmed. If you have properly woven linen, that is also allegedly protection against radiation. I'm giving you a lot of gems here because if I'm right and the caldera is opening up, then radiation is a concern. So let's take a look at it. I want you to see something, and I want to tell you what I think is happening, because we're seeing fires start inside, and this was an issue with Paradise, California, when it went a few years ago, that some of the fires were starting underneath the ground, right? Not all of them, right? Again, I think we have man and there's a spiritual warfare behind all this that's like that, you have people trying to make this a bigger problem than it is or look like a bigger problem or exactly to cover up certain evidence of what happened, but it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. I was listening to Post Malone again the other day, and as Hollywood is burning, Hollywood is bleeding, I'm sorry. You should hear that. Because again, I think all these people have been in their basements for a while now. Hold, please, while I grab a drink of water. I'm sorry. So this is the Yellowstone caldera. Now, what I think is happening, and not that it matters, not that I'm anyone special, I'm not a geologist. Again, I'm just putting together the headlines. If you have the smell of sulfur, if you have the stuff that looks like snow, but it's not quite snow, and it's a little white, and it's a little sooty, and it's not quite, you don't know what it is, and it's mixing with snow, so you can't really, the snow doesn't look right either, right? It could be ash. Now, what ash is it from? I think I think they're lying about Hawaii too. I think Hawaii had an issue a while ago and they didn't tell us. Okay, so let's check this out. And it's real easy to pay people off or to just, again, shut down their internet, shut off their communication so that they can't do what I'm doing right now and tell you, hey, I think this is what's happening. So if we look, I want to get you a good, I want to see its tributaries. And by tributaries, I mean its veins. I want you to see the veins underneath the ground. Okay? So real quick, this isn't going to be too much longer. I don't want it to be. Now you see how far it goes. And this is 2012. You see how, and this, they've already got it, preparedness. We have to be prepared for natural disasters, as prepared as you can be. Now you see, this is what they're calling the kill zone. Primary ash, secondary ash. Where is all of our ash showing up? Well, we had somewhere, New Jersey, Florida, maybe something over here happened, right? I'm not sure. But again, we've had a lot of winds as well. I really want you to see one of the veins. Let's see. Let's go down a little. Now you see how the veins kind of circle out there, we've got a lot of underground tunnels, right? So let's think about that. Let's think about how many underground tunnels we have. That weakens the surface ground, right? And we've already built on top of cities all over the place. Chicago, LA, those are the big ones. We've already built on top of those. San Francisco. There's even a town near me, Austin town, I think, had a real big earthquake back in the 1800s. So we already got weak ground. And then you add fracking into that, so that gets a little weaker, and you're causing some vibrations to occur. Maybe some cracks and some seams that were zippered up a long time ago naturally, right? But now you have all this going on, this fracking, and it all adds to it. So imagine you have all these tunnels under there, plus the natural veins, right, of a structure like Yellowstone, like a caldera, like a volcano. They're not showing us like an infrared because that's kind of. Do you see how far it would go? Do you see how far they think ash would go? It would be nuclear winter, like on this side of the planet, if Yellowstone goes. Good thing I've read a lot of books about like what to do in those instances. So you see, you have like these reservoirs of magma. The trees, some of the trees in the videos you can see are catching fire at the roots of the trees, right? Why is that? Because the ground is getting hot. And LA, California, sits on top of. Oh, gosh, my bad. Let's go there. Can you guys see this, hopefully? So it goes all the way. That would affect everybody. But I do believe, let's real quick, calderas in America. Let me go ahead and do that and see what happens. Because calderas are the ones, they don't actually have a volcano, right? You can't see them above ground, but they are below ground. Holy cow, there's two near me. Okay. Yellowstone. I don't care about. Jeez. How weird. What the heck do I care about that? Volcano collapse. The power of the caldera. They are large. The largest caldera. Intense. Cooking pot is what caldera means. Okay. Calderas of the United States. Let's go to images and maps because that's easier. Calderas in America. Just tell me how many there are. Yellowstone, Yellowstone, Yellowstone. Let's try this. How many calderas in America? 3. The United States is home to 3 large caldera systems. That includes all the underground piping that have erupted in the last 2 million years. Yellowstone, Long Valley in eastern California, near the town of Mammoth Lakes, is also well known. So where is that one in California? Long Valley Caldera. Let's try that. Long Valley Caldera. Because it's very possible, again, they're covering up natural events. And of course, you'll have basic looting that goes along with all of that. People that are actually in the areas, it's probably harder to hide things from them. I want to know where this is at. There we go. Hold, please. Long Valley Caldera. Where are you? Adjacent to Mammoth Mountain, one of the Earth's largest calderas. hot ash that later cooled to form by. Oh, wow. The second phase. The eruption emptied the magma chamber under the area to the point of collapse. The second phase of the eruption released pyroclastic flows that burned and buried thousands of square miles. Ash from this eruption blanketed much of western part of what is now the United States. So let's check. So is this anywhere? I'm not from California, so I don't know if this would affect LA. But if you've already got high temperatures happening in California, oh, Laurel Mountain, Convict Lake, Mount Morrison, is it named after Jim? So is this the Laurel Canyon where all the celebs went and got Lake Crowley? That's what they call that? Are they serious? I wonder if that's near where they did that experiment. Wow, you guys. I'm so, like, sheltered. I had no idea that they had a lake called Crowley Lake. How bizarre. Okay, so I guess we have a couple of them. So I would be concerned about this at this time, but let's go ahead and see if there's anything in the news about eruptions or induction. Induction is, I think, when it's getting ready, like it's the stage before. Yeah, the buildup and triggers of volcanic eruptions. The thermal evolution, the surface, 1, 2, anticipating the timing, size, and style. I want to know what it looks like, though. Does it burn trees first? Does it ignore leaves? Does it, like, obviously we have some interference happening. And I told you, I could not find the video, but I told you on the Brie and Jen channel, I did a video about life insurance and TIs and how, you know, their last ditch effort is to use us as resources and collect insurance on us. I think that fraud is a big problem, probably with CV, but it probably won't show up for a very long time. Insurance salesmen are of the devil, like they really are. People in our grandparents' generations, like they knew that. That's what they called them. So don't trust a man in a suit coming to your door, a traveling salesman. Okay, so let's see if this is in the news. There's anything in the news about this. Now, again, if you take everything that's happening, this is how I've come to this possible scenario is through all of the moving parts and kind of coming above it, getting out of the paradigm and looking at it like objectively, I guess, logically. And I just put it all together and I'm like, you know, this is one of the only ways that this puzzle fits together is that we're having some type of volcanic event somewhere, but I'm not smart enough to figure that out myself. So let's see what this little piece says here, just so you guys get an idea. Yeah, I don't really care. Do I have to accept them? I don't want to accept them. I hate these things. They're so invasive. More than 800 people live in... Oops, share this tab instead. More than 800 people live in proximity to active volcanoes and could be directly impacted. Yes, we know that. The thermal evolution of magmatic systems influences the physical properties of magma and the rocks surrounding the volcanic plumbing system, which over the long term favors magma storage over eruption. Magma recharge is the primary driver of magma reservoir pressurization and destabilization. Magma recharge. And I think I did a report on fracking, and again, that's when I think I was starting to be watched. And that's what you would refer to as one of these. It causes magma recharge, right? Because you're digging in the ground and causing that reverberation and that echo. What do you think is going to happen from all those vibrations that you're causing? Magma recharge is the primary driver. Second, boiling can trigger reservoir failure, although it is likely less to cause repeated eruptions. Only when volcanoes are in a critical state close to eruption, small variations of stress or rock strength caused by external phenomena can help to initiate a volcanic eruption. Gee, like when NASA was talking about putting a hose under there and shooting it full of whatever. Magma can become arrested on its way to the surface because a lack of pressure or insufficient volume do not allow the magma to overcome stress barriers. It's funny too. I've been watching channels now where the guys go under in the tunnels and they explore. There's so much down there, and all of it's really giant, of course. But if they start running into trouble, like those are the guys right now that I would watch, are people going like underground in the tunnels. And most of them have permission because it's like what they do for a job as well. So that is my theory on that. I'm going to get out of this tab and go to another one. And we talked about Uriel having the discs of fire and him being, kind of in charge of that. Now, this came up in the live that I did yesterday. And I want to go over something with you guys real quick. And then this video will be done. Okay, so this is from the book, The First and Last Deception, Aliens, UFOs, AI, and the Return of Eden's Demise. Okay, so we're going to go to, this is the part of the book I wanted to go to. Hold, please. The occult, right here. Now, I just want to read a brief part of this because this is what the other 3 books, the series that I bought that I keep talking about, it's a little triggery, but I kind of delayed them because of what's going on in our country right now with all this stuff happening. I honestly do. That's what makes the most sense to me. And this created chaos is an event that they kind of can't control. And so they're trying to do damage control in as many ways as they possibly can. And the Antichrist only gets 3.5 years actually in charge. So as far as I understand it. So the occult 1800s, we're going to look at this. And then before we close, I'm going to show you that there was a moon hoax before. Yes, there was. Was it a hoax? Or was it the 1800s when they started lying to us? Okay. So let's check this out. The 19th century has been described as both the democratization of Christianity and the feminization of it. The same could clearly be said of the occult and of the many places where those two systems of meaning overlapped and competed. Quote, Dr. Kathy Gutierrez, despite all that has been covered, some will doubtless still feel tempted to justify believing in aliens. Now again, he's a little condescending. I'm not saying that aliens don't exist. God can create whatever he wants to create. Salvation is for man alone. Mankind was fallen. I don't think aliens are aliens. I think they're Elohim. Just my opinion. Okay. They change the meanings of words. They don't want you to know the Bible is true and that God is real. So they change the names of everything, and the things that they don't create, they take credit for and lie about creating it and say they did, because they don't want you to see God. I mean, it's that simple. Once you realize that's what their big secret is, that they're hiding God from you, you see him everywhere. I mean, the firmament, right? If people knew we were under something like that to keep us safe, they would know we were loved immediately. So that's one of the biggest things that they hide from people, is the fact that there is a firmament and we are protected unless, God would choose to do a thing. Okay, so he's a little condescending. I'm not saying I agree with what he has here. I'm trying to put you in the proper state of mind. And we also did a video that's on this channel where we did the etymology of the word death. In the English language, oddly enough, according to the etymology, which is the history of the study of a word, it's the root word, the word death did not exist until the 1800s. So what's going on there? Why is that? Now, they say when the second coming happens, no one will be able to lie about it. Everyone will know. So if someone tells you he already came, you know that they are outside of the gospel. When I said that earlier, I said some people believe that. Sometimes I do wonder, but Christ wouldn't hide himself from us, right? Like he wouldn't. And all the things these people are doing, no matter what, they can't say it's for God or of God or that they're godly. And some of these cultish groups, they think that you can do anything pretty much to anybody because everything is forgiven except for like ending someone, deleting somebody. So some of these beliefs get a little, I try to be respectful of everybody's beliefs, but you shouldn't force conversion on somebody because that's not true conversion anyway. Okay, so I just want to get your mind in a certain state because everybody thinks that we're going through new things. This is all cyclical, all right? Until we are in the end time and God ends times itself, apparently, I guess this is going to occur. It's just different. It echoes different, right? In the pattern of things, when it repeats, it repeats a little different, right? We're seeing a repeat already of 2016, but it's all just a little different. Despite all that has been covered, some will doubtless still feel tempted to justify believing in aliens because of those 19th century Catholics who did the same. Even a certain false traditionalism, reflexively glamorizing all times before the mid-20th century, may induce one to find utterly convincing the mere sight of any grainy black and white photograph of a 19th century Catholic. Such an approach to tradition contradicts its own premises. The popes and magisterial documents most often appealed to by traditionalists themselves were, of course, concerned with condemning the evils that had become pervasive in the church in the time of their own promulgation. Consider the most famous of these traditionalist magisterial documents. Now remember, this is in the day when the church was respected. The church controlled the fiat. The church controlled the money. You didn't have a Fed Reserve. And you had actual money, right? Like coins and whatnot, shekels. And the Pope kind of controlled all of that. Not the Pope himself, like obviously there's a hierarchy, but anyone that says, separation of religious and that's just, it never has been that way, right? It just never has. And Christianity and Muslims have fought for holy wars since both have been in existence, unfortunately. So let's see. It was not written to condemn the sexual revolution of the 60s or brand of modernism peculiar to pre-war Europe. It was promulgated in the year 1864, directed against the errors that had already ravaged the church. So he's trying to show some mistakes that the church made. The Pope concluded his condemnation of these errors with a grave warning that the synagogue of Satan was gathering its troops against the Church of Christ. Our own era, being worse still, must not preclude accurately assessing the evils of the 19th century. By that time, the Enlightenment had already accomplished its goal of devastating mainstream scholarly thought, and almost all the popular thinkers had their minds clouded by a whole retinue of ungodly propositions, meaning the church started to become more like the culture and being changed by the culture instead of the church setting the tone for how things should be, right? The 1800s were also heavily dominated by the influence of Freemasonry and the occult. Everywhere was found theosophy. Actually, Catholics believe in theosis, union with God. So again, there are some mystic practices that saints partook of. So be very careful. Take everything with a grain of salt and take it to God yourself. Everywhere was found theosophy, seances. Yeah, those are obviously no good. Ouija, automatic writing, medium, secret societies, table rapping, spirit photography, mesmerism, telepathy, divination, and on the list goes. Now, I don't know if I would call it telepathy. It just seems that these other beings, angels, they carry our prayers, right? They're messengers. Somehow they have to have an access to our quiet purse, to our thoughts, the ones that we do inside our heart, because we don't want the enemy hearing what is most vital to us. So in some way, telepathy is a thing. But again, we're dealing with a power struggle here and control. And the laity was always to be the child, and the church was the mother or the father, as it were. The Pope, is the father on the earth. And I know, call no man father. I get it. Trust me. I think the doctrine is very sound, and we are prepared already. We have been prepared for years regarding the alien invasion and all of the things that you're seeing now. So all I'm telling you is all these things, you're seeing all of this come back, right? And you're seeing the Freemasonry is kind of trying to take over the world. But then you're also seeing that there's power struggles happening everywhere between people now, because you get a little bit of power and that's not enough. You want more. You got to get that dopamine hit, right? So it says, God, heaven, sin, redemption, and even the word Christianity have been muted. Instead, one finds euphemisms such as the divine one and the great religion. And the predominant focus is on the individual soul and free-floating conception of the afterlife that is divorced from the traditional, dualistic geography of heaven and hell. You saw these people with the blood over intent, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, like enough to make myself sick, with the blood over intent stuff, right? You saw that type of, if the hierarchy in your mind goes askew, then everything you do, every practice that you partake, every act that you do with your hands, every word that you speak is out of alignment. There is a proper hierarchy to things. Now, I'm not here to argue about patriarchy and feminism and that whole, like, that's not who I am. And if you're looking for that, type of thing, this is definitely not the channel for you. We're here to learn and be open-minded to a point, but stand firm in the fact that we are truth seekers, regardless sometimes of where that truth may be found or where it's coming from. So, having said all of this, I want to show you something that we found in the live that I did the other day on accident. It was totally synchronistic. If you're here and I'm not checking your comments, I apologize. Thanks for being here. Welcome. We are actually almost done with this video, I think. So, oh, no, there's one more part after this, one more segment. So the Great Moon Hoax. I had never heard of this. Now, again, digital information can be changed, so we should be very careful in what we accept and receive as truth, right? Because once you accept it and receive it, you're in agreement with that thing. And if it's not true, then you become bonded to it. It's bondage, right? I'm really big on knowing your own sovereignty and how to wield the sword of the spirit, which is your tongue. It is your free will. And you have to wield your words properly here. You don't want to give these things legal entry. But what was the Great Moon Hoax? Well, it was the Great Moon Hoax of 1835, which is a wild, like, the 1800s seem like I was totally born in the wrong century. I want to go be a fly on the wall, not literally, but I want to know what was going on then, because there's so much news. It's like, what are they actually trying to hide and bury? Because there's just so much of it in the, like, from 1820 to like 1920. That whole 100 years is like jam-packed with stuff. But anyways, this was in the Sun, and it started on August 25th. I think that's my dad's birthday. Gosh, this is also personal. It's so wild. The supposed discovery of life and civilization on the moon. The discoveries were falsely attributed to Sir John Herschel and his fictitious companion, Andrew Grant. Okay, now we have some pictures here and images. People are so creative. Okay, the story was advertised on August 21st, 1835 as an upcoming feature, allegedly reprinted from the Edinburgh Courant. These articles were never retracted, although on September 16th, 1835, the Sun admitted the articles were fake. So which is it? What are they trying to hide? Well, see, I don't really think the moon, like, you can land on it. I don't think that's a thing. I just don't. I think, to me, if you look at the shapes that are on the moon, it looks like it's a mirror. And it looks like it's just a reflection of the land masses on the Earth. That's what it looks like to me, right? So, I don't know. And if we rotated and the Earth rotated, why would there be a dark side of the moon? We would see every side of it because it spins, allegedly. But these people don't think these things through. Logic is highly tampered with here. I don't know what does it. I haven't figured it out yet because I was blind, dumb, and deaf. I had that demon. Like, I was just blind, deaf, and dumb, and I didn't even know it. I was walking around like that for years, and it did not go away until I denied myself food and I fasted. So again, we stumbled upon this synchronicity. And again, we have Batman, which has been with us since TV began in 2019 as well, when we saw troops coming into flooding New York and LA with tags that said Project Gotham on them. And the Bat started CV with that article about the Bat. What's funny about that is Matthew Perry, I guess in his book, said if he ever did a post about Batman, it meant he was in distress and people were trying to harm him. So now that we know that, why is nobody doing anything? He has these friends, right? These great friends for his whole life. Why is nobody doing anything about that? This is happening en masse. Like, people are being disappeared. People are being called, purged, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's happening. They're just hiding it. Of course, you're not going to see it. So basically, they said these discoveries were supposedly made with an immense telescope of an entirely new principle. The telescope transported to South Africa from New England. It was said to be many times larger than any other telescope in the world. I'm curious about telescopes. There is a deception there too. Obviously, I'm just not sure what it is. So it tells you like how rumors persisted of who wrote it, who didn't write it, and you have all this arguing taking place. But let's see. The other two men noted in connection with the hoax, a French astronomer traveling in America at the time, though he was in Mississippi, not New York, when the article appeared, and Lewis Gaylord Clark, editor of the Knickerbocker, a literary magazine. However, there's no good evidence to indicate that anyone but Locke was the author of the hoax. Okay, so here's the thing. First of all, the media is sensationalizing things and possibly causing a panic again in the public. Not only is it allegedly fake, but they leave it up there, they leave it circulating, and they don't tell anybody anything for like, what, a week or two, it said? And then they finally say it's fake, but they don't destroy it and retract everything. And so that don't make sense either. One theory is that the paper is responsible for inspiring the articles by Locke. So they're saying he plagiarized this. A professor of astronomy in 1824 at Munich University published a paper titled Discovery of Many Distinct Traces of Lunar Inhabitants, especially of one of their colossal buildings. One theory is that this paper is responsible for inspiring the articles. In his paper, he claimed to have observed various shades of color on the lunar surface, which he correlated with climate and vegetation zones. He was also observed lines and geometrical shapes, which he felt indicated the existence of walls, roads, fortifications, and cities. Or he was on some good psilocybin mushrooms and seeing the grid. Wow, okay. So this just goes to tell you how the media operates. Is it real? Is it true? I'm not here to discern that for you. That's up to you. All right, so I want to show you something else. And again, there is a personal synchronicity, and I speak my testimony to give others courage to speak theirs, because we defeat our enemy with the word of our testimony, okay? By talking about it and by getting it out there. Now, I want to talk about something, and I'm going to give you a little background. So first, I bought those masks when I've never worn masks, and then these fires started in LA, right? Now, I showed you about methane being possible precursors to earthquakes. We did all that. I showed you all the sinkholes happening and how LA was already having issues, and how there's a caldera over there in California. So we did that whole thing. All right. I showed you the spiritual aspect and where Uriel in the end times, he has discs of fire, and it is his job, okay, to set those fires. Now we're going to look at something else. I have been praying for about the last 6 months, and people are probably going to hate hearing this, but I've been praying for the last 6 or 7 months that the internet would just shut down. It makes sin too easy. There is corn readily available. There are snuff movies. There are movies they're saying are movies, but they're real life, and people are getting harmed and nobody's catching on. And then you have babies being sold on social media and people selling their bodies all over, and children aren't protected from that. Having said all of that, I've been praying that it would get shut down. That is when my life changed. That is when I moved here. I had met my spouse, thought things were great. But all of this stuff is so closely related to my testimony. Everything that's happened like in the public, that I have to speak on it because it's just so bizarre. And because, again, that's how we defeat the enemy, is the word of our testimony. And maybe that'll help somebody somewhere someday. Little drink of coconut water. All right, this is the last segment. I've been praying for that, and lo and behold, I turn on the news last month, and I meant to cover this sooner, but life happens. My dog is dying, so sue me. So 4 months, the invisible backbone of the internet, nearly 1 million miles of undersea cables keep the world connected. But what happens if they get cut? 16 days, India. Did China cut undersea internet cables as ship leaves? Mystery deepens. Or is something else waking up? Did something come out of the Mariana Trench? Because it's getting hot down there as well for this beast. I think the Mariana Trench is a very good runner for being the abyss because of the black smoke and the furnace that is there. And the beast is an actual physical animal. Like there is an actual beast. There's the man who is like the beast or whatever, who runs the beast or whatever, and then there's an actual physical iteration of the beast. Because in the in the feast at the end of time, he is defeated, and they eat him. They make a meal of him. So, moving on. Now they're blaming everything on China because you've got to have a bad guy. Although again, in this circumstance, I believe China is one of the bad guys. They are the Red Dragon, and they are really into communism. And again, if you're not reading the Catholic Bible and you haven't heard what our prophets have said, you're missing out on a lot. I'm not going to argue about this, but our book came first. So if you took half the books out and then you protested about our idolatry or whatever, well, then you need to look at, you need to take the log out of your own eye. Why did you take the book apart? Why would you do that? That's very unwise. So, a lot of people are still not quite sure, of what's going to happen. Oh, here we go. So, 20 days, the mystery surrounding 2 severed Baltic subsea internet cables is getting murkier. Let's check this out. Where's this at? Nobody believes that these cables were severed by accident. Now, can we get an underwater image of these cables and where they're at, what they look like? Veins connecting the global internet have been at the center of suspicious maritime activity in recent years that has resulted in an uptick of outages. In this case, the ship had remained motionless in the Kattegat Strait between Sweden and Denmark for months, as investigators from multiple countries boarded it to search for clues. Chinese officials denied their recent request to let prosecutors aboard the ship despite previously agreeing to cooperate. Imagine that. Investigators claim ship dragged anchors for more than 100 miles. So they're saying that the Chinese did this on purpose. Although, whatever, I guess. Okay, so I want you to see something else now. How did this happen? When were these, just think of this for a minute. If the internet was given to the public in 1995, when were these giant cables laid across the ocean floor? It had to be in advance, right? That had to come first, and then you make the little devices that connect you to these cables. Do you see what I'm getting at here? They're, and I get, they're just doing whatever they want, and they don't tell us any of it, and they don't actually let us vote on the things that matter, right? It's just ridiculous. So early history, the telegraph. So the working telegraph was introduced to the public in 1839. In the 80s, fiber optic cables were developed. The first transatlantic telephone cable to use optical fiber was TAT-8, which went into operation in 1988. Time travel speed. A fiber optic cable comprises multiple pairs of fibers. The importance of submarine cables. Lay hidden in the seabed as an essential infrastructure in the digital era carrying 99% of the data. Vulnerabilities of cables. Submarine cables are exposed to a variety of threats. Many of these threats are accidental, such as fishing trawlers, ship anchors, earthquakes, turbidity, currents, and even shark bites. So if a certain beast maybe was awake and God wanted to use that beast, like he used Cepheus from Greek mythology as the whale to carry Jonah, because it's God, the true God of the universe, right? Everything they tell you is mythology just means history. We were ruled by the little g gods. We still are. They just don't tell us what they are. They've made everything they've sanitized it all. And that's why the cameramen are showing you now. These people are giant. Like, they are of the Nephilim. Look at Trump's son, with all due respect. I mean, nothing, you know what I mean? I don't know his heart. Like, so I'm not judging in that way per se. But I do see, like, the results of things they're doing. So this is something to keep your eye on. If certain things are occurring, especially naturally occurring out there, or just in the earth in general, that is something that you want to look at. Let's see if there's anything new. Uh-oh. Where am I? I've lost track. Human thought is far slower. T-Mobile connections. Like, I want to know the origins. Like who got in the ship and laid these out? Was it the Navy? Is that who does this? And with what technology do they expect? Like, they just took years and years to do it with ships? And how do you get it on the bottom of the ocean floor when you say we've never been to the bottom? Like, who laid that out? There's no way man did that by himself. I'm sorry. And I mean, if you're more, I'm definitely not physics girl, so I'm, please share in the comments your wisdom. Anyway, this is just something else I wanted you to kind of keep in the back of your mind. But if we take a look at things like the Great Moon hoax that happened way back in the hundreds, imagine how much the media is deceiving you now and how it's deceiving you. The media is an arm or a tentacle of the beast. Of that, I am certain. Okay? So please be very careful with all of these things. The hoax is featured in Gotham, A History of New York City, 1898. Gotham, there's that word again. The bat, Gotham. I was just talking about Project Gotham. Do you see how this works? It's just so weird. This might be another rabbit hole that I need to look into to find out, like, where this all came from. This is wild. All right, y'all. I'm going to bounce. I just wanted to talk about a few of those things and to let you know to be prepared for any eventuality. It's very possible that this is nature kind of doing its thing, doing what God wants it to do, because it all fits. All of the things, some of the plasma things, all of the sinkholes, the sulfur smell, the snow that's not quite snow. It reeks literally of a volcano eruption. Let's look at that real quick before we hang it up and see where we're at with those right now. Let's go to news, the news tab. That'll show you what's most current. 8 hours. Are we ready for the next megavolcanic eruption? Lessons, risks, and global preparedness. Ever-growing USA. One day, Earth's next big volcano eruption will cause global chaos because there is no plan. Fantabulous. I love hearing that. Oops. Sorry, guys. I'm still getting used to this laptop. Mystery of giant volcanic eruption that has puzzled scientists for almost 200 years has finally been solved. 10 hours. Taal volcano post-phreatic eruption again. Huh. So we got something going on there in the Philippines. Another Canadian volcano eruption possible. Yep. So that one's rumbling. Oh my gosh. Mystery volcano that erupted when? And cooled Earth in 1831. 1831. Spewing so much sulfur dioxide. So that's what goes into the air, is sulfur dioxide. So go to some of them people that are testing the droplets in the fog and see if any of them are for sulfur dioxide. Because they're gonna tell you it's a government. But again, it's God. Hemisphere, little ice age, blah, blah, blah. Where is it? Greenland. Isn't that where Trump wants to buy? So what are they? Layers. They examine sulfur isotopes, grains of ash, and tiny volcanic glass shards deposited between 1831 and 1834. Wow. an area disputed by Russia and Japan before the scientists' findings. The last known eruption was in 800 BC. For many of Earth's volcanoes, particularly those in remote areas, we have a very poor understanding of their history, which isn't true, but whatever. Or maybe we are all dumb of this generation now. Maybe they've totally tried to sanitize, but I mean, they've obviously, now we know the secret's out now. Like I said, the cameramans that just watch things with the sound down. The cameraman is what you want to keep your eyes on, how they're focused on. Get out of here. So the team also chemically analyzed ash and shards of volcanic glass, measuring no more than, wow. So yeah, I'd be really interested. Tephra volcanic ash or deposits. I'd be really interested if anyone who tested that fog, the fog droplets, elsewhere. If anyone knows, post them below. If they are the elements needed for the gases, whatever elements. What did it say? Sulfur dioxide in the air. And they're mentioning Greenland again, which is really weird. Okay, guys. Well, we'll keep our eyes on the, the earth. Just keep your ears open. And be kind. Do something kind for somebody, please. I may start uploading psalm readings or something like that and just upload them and set them for a specific day of the week. Now that I have a little more, now that I can see better on a laptop and move around and save things, I might like to do something like that. And again, not everyone has to watch, but if it's something you'd be into. And for me, this is the anniversary of when all this stuff was kind of kicked off and I was battered by someone I thought was my spouse that I loved very much. Come to find out, everybody's different. And the Hopi prophecy talks about this as well. It says beings that were never meant to walk the earth shall be everywhere. So I love you guys. Stay blessed. Remember all the glory. And say your prayers and keep me in them if you're so inclined, and I will keep you in mind. And hopefully there will be another upload soon, a regular upload. They don't get they don't get pushed at all by the algorithm, but we'll see what happens. That's not really why I'm here anyway. But you guys have a blessed day. Let me figure out how to stop streaming and we'll be good. All right. Thanks for being here.